Just wanted to give you a quick update. If you notice, everything is reversed, mirror image of how it was in the last video. That's actually because I ran into some trouble on the other side. So I stopped shooting video. So now here we are on the driver's side, and literally everything is just mirror image. This side does not have a ABS speed sensor. I don't know if that's because someone took it out and never replaced it, or if it only has the one. I suspect it's because it only has the one. This is what you're going to want to do with your brake caliper. I leave the bracket and the caliper attached to one another. Just a piece of tie wire, hold it up to the strut so it's out of my way. I wanted to show you this. This is the brake rotor. These are going to have to be done, but we're not doing that this week, so we can ignore that for now. I'm going to get this washer out of there. I mentioned in the last video that you need a special tool. This is the tool you will need, or something similar to this. It's an impact screwdriver. And quite literally, pound on this end while holding it with one hand against the screw. And there's a set of slots inside here that cause the tip to turn, while making sure, because you're impacting it, that there's good contact between the teeth of the bit and the actual screw. The screws are not terribly big. I had one that was actually stripped out. I don't know if we can get that to focus. Let's try that again. No, probably not. But anyways, there's one. And this one was actually sticking out a bit, so it wasn't even making contact. And if you can see, I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera, but the threads are pretty mangled. A lot of vehicles don't even have these screws holding on the caliper, the rotor. The caliper and caliper bracket bolt directly to the steering knuckle, and that's simply what that, and the fact that it's sitting on the lugs for the wheel, is what keeps it attached to the hub assembly. This is the hub assembly. These are your studs. This is the hub assembly, and back here behind this is the steering knuckle that your tie rod, strut, and I don't know if I can get a good shot of that, the ball joint attached to on the bottom. All three of these are going to have to be disconnected. This is a castle nut. Once again, remove the cotter. Take the nut off. You pop this down underneath here. You can do the same thing here with the ball joint. You can take this cotter off, straighten it out, pull it out, or as I'm going to do, and I'm going to try to get a shot of this. It's kind of difficult. I don't know if you're seeing that very well, but there's two bolts, one here and one on this side, that hold the ball joint to the, I think you can actually see one of them right there. That's a pretty good shot. And the other one is right there. That holds the ball joint to the steering knuckle. To me, it's easier to leave the ball joint attached to the lower control arm, which is this here. Well, the control arm, I should say. There is no upper. The only difficulty is once you go to take that out, the piece that these bolts go through will spin. So when you go to put it all back together, you're going to have to fight forcing the control arm down while lining those up to get the two bolts started. And you're probably going to have to turn the steering wheel to get at these bolts to get them out, because as they drop down, they actually hit this piece of the control arm. So to get this one out, you're going to have to turn the entire thing to the right, and then to get this one out, you'll have to turn the entire thing to the left so it clears this, and then you're going to have to reverse that process when you go to put it back in. So pick your poison. Some people would rather just take this nut off and pop leave the ball joint attached. Since I'm having someone else press it in, have the bearing pressed in, that just seems like more work to me. So alright, and so the next thing is I'm going to as you can see, this is the CV shaft. The axle nut bolts on. I apologize if I use any wrong terminology. Oh yeah, you can actually see in here, if you look really close, you can actually see the threads of, see if we get that sucker to focus in there. Probably not, but the threads from the screw that was holding the rotor on are still inside there. So this just pushes back. Once I get those other three things, these are the two bolts that hold the strut on. I'm going to have to disconnect those and push it over. That's not actually very difficult. I was afraid that this was going to want to drop down, and then it was going to be very difficult to get this back on. This is part of the steering knuckle here. It comes down. This is one of the holes for caliper bracket. There's the shaft in the back, you can see. I'm pushing here. And there's plenty of play there. And like I said, the ball joint and the tie rod. I'm going to get those off, and then we'll get back and we'll go from there.